Hello YouTubers and fellow hams. Well, this is the first of two videos. I have a product to look at, something new, something so new you can't even buy it yet. And it's this, the Radioddity GD-77 HT. This is a dual band DMR capable HT, Tier 1 and Tier 2, which is what's important to radio amateur use, okay? So we're going to have a good look at this HT, and then what I planned to do was I planned to talk about DMR and explain it in a way that makes sense for those of you that don't have a grasp of it yet, which was me. I didn't have a grasp of it, but I spent an entire day getting my mind around it, playing around with it, and I understand it, and I'm going to put together, well, I was going to put it on this video, but it turned into a bigger project. I want to explain DMR in a real clear, easy to follow way. And in order to do that right, I'm going to do it on its own entire video. It'll be following close on the heels of this one though, so you won't have to wait too long, maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe this Saturday. It's Wednesday right now, middle of the week. So anyway, let's have a look at this HT. We'll open the box up and we'll have a good close examination. This is the box the machine comes in. Now this is a 5-watt dual band handheld, Tier 1 and Tier 2 DMR. It also does regular FM, just like standard HT would do. So you get a nice functional HT. In the box, we have safety guide, what not to do with it. Don't put it in the water. Don't throw it off a cliff. A user's manual, which is like many Chinese radios. It's sort of an abridged manual. It does provide you with all the information you'll need to operate it. Menu settings, step-by-step walkthroughs for programming it and setting modes. It has a nice menu system in the radio. So it's really not such a bad manual. I think it's better. Like the Baofeng doesn't come with much of a manual at all. This one is way more complete. So it's not up to what you'd get with a Kenwood or an Icom, but it's certainly a big improvement over what you see on some of the other Chinese radios. And everything is step by step. The English translation is not too bad. It's a little bit grammatically off at times, but it's certainly much more clear than other Chinese manuals that I've seen, or Chinese translation manuals that I've seen. So I'd say it's pretty good on the manual. I'd give that a big thumbs up. So that's good. Here is the HT itself. And you can see it's a nice size. Fits the hand real well. It's a little bit bigger than, say, like the Baofeng, which would be about that tall. This is much taller. It has on the top an SMA connector, which is the standard type. The thread's on the outside, like you see on most other devices. Like my SDR Play had this SMA connector on it. So that's good. The Baofeng's is backwards. It has the threads on the inside. And we have a single on-off volume control on the top, a programmable button. In regular DMR installations for commercial radio, that could be an emergency call button, but you can program it to be anything you want. On the other side here, we have a push-to-talk button and 2 other programmable buttons. Each one is dual function. There's an instant press function and a long press, which is about 1 second function. So you can program those in the software to do anything you want. On this side, we have the standard Kenwood style speaker mic connector, so any speaker mic that's out there is probably going to work with this radio just fine. Also the programming cable connects there. Now this is an early demo model. Oh yeah, battery. We just push that in, battery pops off, and we've got our information on the inside here, and it's a 2.2 amp hour, 7.4 volt lithium battery, so real good capacity on that battery. In the box, we get a charging base, the antenna, which is a dual band antenna. It says right inside of here that it's 2 meters and 440, and that just screws on like with any other HT. Programming cable comes with it, USB. Now this is not a serial adapter. I thought this would be an embedded serial adapter, but this is really just a wired straight through cable. The interfacing is in the radio itself. When I plug this into the computer, nothing shows up on the USB bus, but as soon as I plug in and turn on the radio, a USB device appears, but it's not a serial port. It's something else, something that says demo mouse. Linux lets me identify the chipset. It's a fairly standard chipset. Linux recognized it right away. Windows installed the driver right away without having to load any software, so it's something common enough that at least Windows understood what it was. That was kind of nice for you Windows guys. We get the belt clip. There's a packet with a couple of screws in here. The belt clip mounts on the back above the battery, like so. I saw their earlier model actually had the belt clip holes on the battery itself, I think, so the belt clip came off with the battery. I thought that was kind of weird. If you switched batteries, you'd have to, you wouldn't have your belt clip. But here it mounts on the radio right above the battery, so that's nice. And then you've got your AC adapter. Being in the US, they sent me the proper plug for the US, so that's cool. That plugs into the charging base. Now, a word on charging. This is a demo model of the radio. The actual release model will have a feature that I think is a really cool feature that I haven't seen on other HTs. Now, I could be wrong, but the actual release model, and the manufacturer sent me a photograph of it, has a USB connector above the push-to-talk button, and it will actually charge the radio via USB. So if you were traveling, all you'd need is a USB cable or a smartphone charger. The same thing you'd charge your smartphone with, you could plug into your HT and charge your HT with. That's kind of a cool feature. So I dig that idea. But this is the pre-release model. It does not have that yet, but it will be right here above the push-to-talk. So that'll be the final release. According to the website, it sells, or will sell, for under $90, which puts it at a pretty good price point. So let's turn it on. The screen is very bright. The manufacturer was actually asking me if I thought it was too bright, and I do think it's a bit too bright. Anyway, I have programmed a few things into it. We'll look at the programming software here in a minute, but right now I am on... Now let's go to one of my local repeaters in regular FM mode. There we go. KB9RLW testing. So in FM mode, it works just like any other HT. Works great. In DMR mode, here I've got one of my local repeaters with the North American Talk Group programmed into it. Now DMR, in the DMR video, I'm going to tell you all about talk groups, time slots, color, and show you how it works, how DMR was set up for commercial utility work and how amateurs have adopted it. But essentially what's going on is when I key down to the North American Talk Group through this repeater, it's going to go out to every repeater on the network that also shares that talk group, and everybody around North America that's on that talk group is going to hear me. So I'm going to go ahead and key down and throw my call out. We'll see if anyone comes back to me. Nope, I didn't get in. There we go. Oop. You see the light blink on the top. It's trying to make connection. This repeater is a ways away. Now I'm on high power. I should be able to get in. Yep, having a hard time. It's probably this little antenna. This repeater's across town. Hold on. Now remember how I said this has a standard SMA connector on the top. I have an SMA to BNC adapter that I picked a few up for my SDR play, and it threads right on. So it's nice having the standard SMA connector. So there, now I've got this MFJ antenna on the Super Duck. There we go. KB9RLW, Fort Wayne. And we'll see if anybody comes, oops, We'll see if anybody comes back to me. I got to learn how to stay on camera. Now you can see the green light came on. It's receiving traffic from the repeater. N9MR, KB9RLW. Hey, good evening. I'm just doing a little demo of this Radioddity GD-77 pre-release model for my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I heard you a couple of nights ago. Heck, it might even been last night. Maybe Mark. Say that you were reviewing that.
Uploaded yet tonight, so you'll get a chance to get a good look at it. Over.
It does sound nice. That's something that I noted the last time. It does have real good audio. Well, thank you. I'll be watching your video then. KB9RLW and 9MR.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, watch for it later. It should be up tonight. N9MR, KB9RLW 73, and I will be QRT.
73 and 9MR, clear and listening.
Okay, so that was going out to...
Station that's doing the testing before you disappear.
There we go.
This is N2WFU down here in Walt Disney World, Florida. What was the...
For my call, this video will be up later tonight, and you'll have a chance to see the radio and see all about it. KB9RLW, Fort Wayne, I'll be clear, and 73. Okay, well, as I was saying...
73 to you too, and to the other gentlemen, thanks for letting me jump in there for a minute. N2WFU.
All right, well, as I was saying, our conversation was going out over every repeater on DMR on the network that was connected and on that talk group. So that's how DMR works. It works with talk groups, which have different names, and every repeater that supports that talk group then will hear your radio. Now there's a lot more to it than that, and in the programming software it looks really complex when you first look at it. But after I explain how DMR works in the companion video coming in a couple of days, it'll all make perfect sense. And with that said, well, that's the radio. Let's take a quick look at the programming software over on the computer. All right, we're here on the computer, and this is the Radioddity, I guess it's pronounced Radioddity, website, and the page for this particular radio, the GD-77, Tier 1 and Tier 2 plus programming cable. It says out of stock, of course, because it's not available yet, but there's the price, $86.99 US dollars. I do not know when this is going to be released, but I'm sure, well, I guess you can watch. Search for Radioddity and GD-77 to find this webpage. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video down below. And I guess just watch the page if you're interested in this one. Looks like a nice radio to me. Okay. Programming software is Windows only. Now, I run Linux, so I can't run it directly under my OS. However, Oracle VirtualBox is a free virtual machine, and I have set up a Windows 7 virtual machine. Basically, I've installed Windows 7 inside of a virtual computer that runs in a window. It's kind of like a computer as an application. So I'm going to go ahead and start that, and we will load up their programming software, and I'll load up the profile that I made of this particular radio. Let's see, full screen. All right. So this looks like Windows 10 to me, or Windows 7 to me. All right. Hopefully this is being recorded. Well, if it's not, I'll be very upset. This is their programming software. It's pretty straightforward. Now I saved out the image that I programmed on my radio, so I'm going to open that up. So you have all your different functions over here on the side, and you open them up one at a time to make your changes, do your programming. Boot items, this is locked down, but there's the intro screen. Now they say in the manual that the version of their programming software they'll ship for hams is a little bit limited. There's a way to unlock it, but they want to limit it because you can really screw the radio up if you touch certain options. So it's going to be kind of safe moded for a ham radio, but it is unlockable. General settings. We have things like the radio's name, its ID number. Yeah, most of these functions are locked up. Talk, permit, tone, call, alert, tone, arts, tone. There's a lot of functionality in here that might be useful in a commercial DMR installation, which I'll talk about at length in the DMR video I'll be doing next. But you have some basic settings in here that you can set. Where it gets interesting is, well, the buttons. You can set various functions for the different buttons. And there's call button quick keys on the front panel keyboard. If you hit these numbers, you can have them jump to a certain mode, a certain call, or do a text message, or do whatever you want it to do. So it's pretty flexible there. And these are the two buttons on the side, SK1 and SK2. And you can set various functions, like SK1 is unassigned, and here's a bunch of functions I could set for it. Emergency on, emergency off, high, low power. Monitor would open the squelch if I was in FM mode, and so on and so forth. So all these different functions you can set per button. That's kind of nice. I like having configurable buttons on the radio. Text message is for DMR, for sending text. I guess you can probably define some new text messages. But what we're interested in here is digital contacts, RX group list, zone, and most importantly, channel. So these are all the areas where you do your DMR programming. Digital contact sets up sort of a preset, like let's look at the North American contact. It's a preset for a talk group. Remember I said talk groups are shared amongst repeaters, and this one is called North America, and that's its ID number, 003. You can see that we have almost 100,000 IDs, so there could be up to 100,000 talk groups in a DMR configuration. There are some standardized IDs that these networked repeaters all agreed upon. So on all of the repeaters on this particular network, call ID number 3 is the North American talk group. So as long as I've got that one in, I'm going to everybody that's listening to the North American talk group, as we were doing earlier in the demo. So those are your contacts. And you can also set up a contact of direct to a local radio. Each radio you set an ID for, an ID number. We saw that up here in, oh, shut up, Windows. We saw that up here in, I think, general settings. Yeah, radio ID. If you want to give it to somebody for them to be able to private call you. But anyway, that's your ID number. Okay, so that's what contacts are. It's like a contact list in a phone. You're creating a bunch of shortcuts to a certain talk group ID or call ID. And then RX group list is where you set up groups of receive channels. Every contact that you've defined can be grouped together so that you can listen to multiple talk groups. Let's say you're on a repeater that has 4 different talk groups that you're interested in. You could make a receive group list that contains 2 or 3 of those. And if any activity comes up on any of those 2 or 3, you'll hear it. So you can, essentially, it's like listening to multiple channels simultaneously, except that you're really on one channel on the repeater, just listening to multiple talk groups. So that's where you define your receive group list. Zones, a zone is like a group of configurations. Everything you set up about repeaters and talk groups can be in a zone. So let's say you lived in Detroit and you were traveling to Houston regularly. You could define all the DMR stuff in Detroit and put it in zone 1. And then you could define all the DMR stuff in Houston and put it in zone 2 and just switch zones when you travel. And you'd have all your configurations for the local repeaters and talk groups that you're interested in those areas. And I think you can make as many zones as you want. So that's kind of neat. That's like having having 3 or 4 radios all in one, and you just pick which one you want and have all your settings and configurations. So that's kind of cool. And then channels. You set up a separate channel for each talk group. This is what confuses people on DMR. But DMR is made for commercial radio. It's made for a handheld radio with a switch on the top with maybe 8 or 16 channel positions. And you would configure each channel for the group that you want to talk to, be it the security group or the parking group or the staff group or however you configured your facility's radios. So each channel gets defined for what you want to talk to, what talk group you want to talk to, your repeater settings, the frequencies and the offset, the power level, scan lists. You can set up multiple scan lists to scan different groups of things. That's kind of nice. And down here in that channel is where we pick our receive group, what we're going to be listening to on that repeater. Color code, I'll cover that in the DMR one. And contact name is the contact that we're going to talk to when we transmit. So I've set the receive group to North America, the contact to North America, and if we go up here, contacts, North America is the one that I set up for that talk group, remember? And receive group, I set up a North America group that just contains that North America ID. So you have to do a bit to program. You have to set up a whole bunch of stuff to get it programmed. But once you got that all set, you just go up here to program and you write it to the radio, and it's real easy. It goes right in, and reads it from your radio, and you can save that setting out. Like I've saved out all the programming in my radio, back it up on a USB drive, dump it back into the radio later if you wanted to. So that is their programming software. Like I said, it's Windows only, so if you are on Linux or a Mac, you would have to set up a Windows virtual machine, which I have done. And I don't need to save it, but I'll save it anyway. Yeah. So I've got Windows in a window here on my Linux machine. But it works fine. It works absolutely fine talking to the radio through the virtual machine. Of course, if you're on Windows, you have no problem. You just plug it in and run the programming software and set it up. So that is the programming software for this radio. So that is the Radioddity GD-77 HT. I think it's pretty nice. It's built pretty well. It's a nice solid plastic case. It doesn't flex, it feels really good. It seems to work just fine. I've made several QSOs on it in both FM mode and DMR mode, as we saw earlier in the video. It works pretty good. DMR being digital, the audio has just a slight tinny quality to it, almost a robot-like quality, like you might imagine a really, really good advanced cyborg that's almost human to sound. I'm not a big fan of that digital sound, but it does work, and it's seamless. Unlike echolink, you don't have those delays and you don't have to parse things out. It's really back and forth, almost instantaneous communication. You notice there was no repeater beep. So it does have its advantages. I will do another video where I explain DMR more in depth, and we talk a little bit more about how it works and why it works the way it does. But as far as the radio goes, I'm a fan. I think this is really well built. In fact, this is probably going to become my daily driver for just regular FM work, as well as popping over on DMR now and then for a little DX or interesting QSOs. There are worldwide DMR talk groups. There's talk groups for other countries. There's talk groups for regions, states. So you could program all kinds of interesting stuff in here. Check into nets and things that you like or whatever. So it's a nice little radio. Anyway, I hope you found that enjoyable. Sorry it went a little long, but that's why I'm breaking the videos up into two. So watch in a couple of days for my video on DMR, and I hope you found this entertaining, and I hope you enjoyed the look at this new product. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos, and if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.